Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Raisa Mukhtar and I will presentation about the role of English language and literature in cultivating students' language skills. Introduction. Language skills are the basic competencies that the talents of today's society must possess. In modern society, the interaction between people is mostly achieved by language. For students, to enhance their language expression skill is an important means to enhance their communication ability. The good language skill is also the basis for students to establish a good interpersonal relationship in the society. After entering the society, students also must have strong language skill in order to effectively deal with all kinds of relationship in order to actively develop in social competition. But now, language skill of students are poor. In the process of dealing with people, it's even difficult for them to put their own minds with the appropriate language. Next, the composition of student language ability. If you want to use language, you should first have a deep language foundation. The language foundation mainly includes two parts. First, morphology. Morphology is the basis for students to be able to communicate semantically and rationally. And the second one is syntax. Syntax is the basis for students to be able to communicate meaningfully. Shortly, morphology is the use of vocabulary and syntax is a reasonable way to form a sentence. An analysis of the composition of students' language skill. The language ability of students forms on the basis of a certain language-related knowledge of students after learning. To express their inner feelings and to pass the necessary communication information through language, all need relate language skill. In a word, if there are no corresponding language skill, the language will lose the corresponding communication function and the corresponding knowledge students learn will lose the foundation of existence. The next, the basic knowledge of language. There are two basic knowledge of language. First, communication skills in different contexts. With the basic knowledge of language, students have a certain ability to communicate. However, in the process of language communication in daily life, students don't only need to skillfully apply the basic knowledge of this language, but also need to master certain communication skills in the specific use of language communication. Language communication is a complex process. Different people will have different ways of expression for the same meaning, while in different contexts, the same person will also have different ways of expression. Second, language rhetoric. Student language communication can be classified according to their characteristic in the process of communication. Students can be divided into oral English communication and written language communication. However, both in oral communication and written language, students need to master a certain rhetoric art. The role of English language and literature in cultivating students' English language. First, the introduction of literature can stimulate English learning interest. The rich and varied vocabulary, expression, and wonderful chapters in literary works present the exquisite and charm for learners, which is more attractive than the illustrative or expositive language materials and can stimulate the intrinsic motivation of learning. The second is literature learning helps to create context and shorten the gap between time and space. Since English is not our mother tongue, the biggest obstacle in learning is that there is no beneficial language environment. In addition to communicating with native speaker of English, the simplest and the most effective way is to read foreign literature. Literature itself is the combination of language and culture. The last is about conclusion in the article. English language and literature education shall enhance the language skill of students. It gets students to carry out a large number of reading practice to improve students' sense of language. In the process of English language and literature teaching, each teacher emphasizes the importance of language sense. But language training requires a lot of reading practice, which means students need to read and accumulate. Okay, that's all about my presentation. Thank you.